Hello, welcome everyone to another edition of Your Author Series at the Library. Your Author Series is a series that connects and brings together children's and young adult authors and illustrators to our Los Angeles public libraries. A big thank you goes out to the Library Foundation for making this wonderful program possible with support from the Lenore S. and Bernard A. Greenberg Funds. Thank you again very much to the Library Foundation for making this program possible. My name's Lauren Pratt. I'm the children's librarian at the Studio City Library, part of Los Angeles Public Library. But more importantly, our special guest today is children's author Helena Ku Rhee. Isn't that a beautiful name? Helena Ku Rhee is the children's author of The Turtle Ship and also the recent The Paper Kingdom. Welcome, Helena.
Hi, everyone. So good to be here. Thank you for the LA to the LA Public Library and the Library Foundation. And Lauren, it's so good to see you.
Oh, I'm just so happy to be here with you, Helena, because I really enjoyed both of your picture books very much.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I'm thrilled to talk to you about the books.
Helena has two great picture books that I had mentioned, The Turtle Ship and the recent The Paper Kingdom. They are available at the Los Angeles Public Library's website with your library card. And Helena is going to be with us today to talk about The Paper Kingdom, also tips about becoming an author, and also her greatest triumph and rejection, but greatest triumph. And it may be the same thing. Is that correct, Helena?
That's right. You'll be surprised to know what it is.
I can't wait to hear this. But before Helena launches into her presentation about the Paper Kingdom, I have a question.
Of course.
So Helena, you know I've read The Turtle Ship and The Paper Kingdom multiple times, and I was telling you before we went live about how every time I finish one of your books, this warm feeling comes over me, and I think it has to do with your parents and your family, because both books have an author note. So you have an author note in both of your books at the end of the stories. And you talk about how your parents and your family used to tell you stories and how you're inspired by them. And I was wondering, did your family and parents inspire you to be an author and to share stories?
Yes. They totally inspired me. I'm hearing a little echo, so I'll do my best to answer. Are you hearing an echo, Lauren?
Oh, no, Helena, you sound great.
Oh, really? Okay, good. I'm hearing an echo, but I'll try to plow ahead. So my parents, immigrated from South Korea, and they weren't fluent in English. However, they bought me one picture book, which I'll show you. This was the one picture book I owned when I was a kid. And they encouraged me to look at it again and again by myself. And they actually made me transcribe, write out the words over and over in a notebook. And they had no idea that at a very young age, they were training me to be a picture book author. So yes, they encouraged me to love stories and books. And I think that's really why I write children's books today.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love how you included the author note at the end of both of your stories.
Yes. Oh gosh, I'm hearing an echo still.
Oh, I just heard an echo as well. How do you sound? How do you hear now? Are you sounding okay? Sorry, everyone, technical difficulties. You know how.
Yes, 1 second. We'll figure it out. Let's see here. I just wrote to the host.
Okay. Oh, we can hear you now, Helena. You sound great. Maybe without your earbuds.
Oh, you know what? Okay, maybe it's just on my end. I think it's just happening on my end, so I'll just try my best to ignore the echo and just go forward.
Helena, just know that we're just so happy that you're here with us, and you sound great.
Okay, thank you.
So Helena is going to share her most recent book, some parts of The Paper Kingdom, and some other tips about being an author, becoming an author, and just anything else that has to do with being an author. And I'm just so excited to hear Helena speak. Thank you, Helena. The Paper Kingdom.
Yes. So The Paper Kingdom is my latest picture book, and here it is. And I will tell you all about this book right now. And first, we start with the cover. It's illustrated by Pascal Campion, a very talented artist based here in LA. And if you look at the cover, when I first saw this cover, I was so moved because you see my main character, Daniel, and then below him, you see his parents. And I was so moved because the story is about night janitors. And when I was young, my parents worked as night janitors here in LA. And on nights when they couldn't get a babysitter for me because they couldn't afford a babysitter, they used to take me with them to work. And instead of a terrible experience, it was actually an amazing experience for me. So the reason why this cover really moved me is because the story is about people who are normally invisible in our society, the night janitors who work at night when the building is empty, the rest of us have gone home to have dinner, watch TV, but they're still working hard. So let me take you into the story. I'm not going to read every page, but I'll give you a good sense of the story. And then you can read the book yourself by putting it on hold at the library or buying it at a local bookstore. So here we go. Mama and Papa were night janitors. While they got ready for work, Daniel got ready for sleep. Tonight, he was so very tired. He snuggled into his bed in a corner of the apartment. Suddenly, bring! Mama answered the phone. Oh, I see. That's okay. She walked over to Daniel. You have to come with us, little bug. So when you write a picture book, because you're limited by the space, normally it can only be about 1,000 words or less. I knew that I had to jump right into the life of Daniel and his parents. So we begin with a life scene for them. So here's Daniel and his parents. Too sleepy, Mama. I'll wait for Auntie Clara. That was Clara. She can't come tonight. So here Daniel is changing out of his pajamas. And so now you realize that the babysitter or relative can't come. Their old car sputtered as they drove to Mama and Papa's work downtown. This page is another one that really moved me. So when I saw this illustration from Pascal, I was so thrilled because this scene, driving to work at night, is something that lingers with me. We spend so much time normally in our cars in LA. So I have very strong memories of driving to and from work with my parents at night. And I also loved it because it reminds me of Pascal's New Yorker illustrations. He draws covers for magazines, including the New Yorker. I'll show you a couple because they're so cool. Here's one cover of the New Yorker, and then here's another one. He does a lot of cool nighttime scenes. So when I saw that scene in the book, I thought, this reminds me of his New Yorker covers, which I thought was so cool. Now here they are at the building where Mama and Papa work. And Daniel always found the building a little scary looking, so you can see that. And they meet the security guard, Sam. And Sam says, hello, Daniel. Wow, you've grown. Soon you'll be as tall as me. Daniel doubted he'd grow to be a giant like Sam. I won't tell anyone he's here, Sam winked at Mama and Papa. Thank you, Sam, Papa said as they got in the elevator. Now, this is another scene where I had to think pretty hard about how to show that Daniel has actually been to the building before. So I had to use just a few words and use a scene to show that Daniel has been taken to work with his parents late at night before. I didn't want to explain it the way I'm explaining it to you now. I wanted to dramatize the scene. So that's how I did it. Daniel was so tired he felt like crying. When can we leave? Mama and Papa didn't answer. And you see them working here in the storage closet. And Daniel sneezed. Why is that stuff so dirty? Because they keep the kingdom clean, said Mama. Daniel was confused. What kingdom? And you know what's interesting about this page is that Pascal and I actually did an interview with NPR, National Public Radio, and he actually revealed during our interview that this was his favorite page. And when asked why, he said it's because Daniel's standing in the light and his parents are working hard in the dark. And that really struck me right in the heart because, again, this is what the story's about. It's about the people who work hard in kind of an invisible way. And there's a spotlight on them because this story is placing these hardworking, invisible members of society. It's just highlighting them. Here we go. The Paper Kingdom, Papa said. Didn't we tell you before? This is the land of the Paper King. The Paper King? Now Daniel felt awake. How come I never saw him? Where is he? Let's go see, Mama said. Maybe he's in his throne room. And you see them walking here. And Papa says, looks like he's gone to bed, said Papa. Let's clean up for him. And I'll tell you a little bit about how I came up with the Paper Kingdom. Some people ask me, did your parents tell you about a paper kingdom? Did they make you imagine a paper kingdom? The answer is no. Yes, they encouraged me to use my imagination during those nights. They would tell me funny stories about the people who worked in the building. But the paper kingdom was purely out of my own imagination as a writer. And I wanted to find a way to make a subtle comment about the different tiers of society. And I wanted to do it in an entertaining way. So I thought, what could I do to convey the fact that there are people who kind of sit at the top and people who sit kind of down below? And so I used the construct of a kingdom. Here we go. And here Mama and Papa are cleaning up. And Daniel says, but why do you have to clean the kingdom? Mama dusted. She sneezed as she worked. Shh, Mama said, looking around. Don't upset the queen. Where is she? Daniel asked. And here the parents are telling him all about the paper kingdom while they're cleaning, keeping him engaged, keeping him entertained. And then Papa says, let's check out the bathroom. I don't have to go yet. I know, said Papa, but let's make sure dragons aren't hiding there. Dragons? Oh, don't worry. They work for the king. They're small and friendly, but sometimes they hide because they're afraid. Of what? Daniel asked. The king, said Papa, and maybe the queen. And again, here, I use my writer's imagination to think about, well, how could I convey the idea of the workers who work in this building in a fun way that would be exciting for kids? Well, kids love dragons and dinosaurs, and dragons live in the kingdom. So I thought I'll use dragons. And here they are in the bathroom. And you see Pascal included the drawing of a dragon. And you have to understand that I'm trying to encourage kids to use their imagination because most kids know that dragons don't really exist, but the dragon exists in Daniel's imagination here. This book is really about the power of imagination too. And here they are. And you can see Daniel getting a little bit frustrated as they clean up the really messy kitchen. Why are dragons so messy? Asked Daniel. They should pick up their own trash. Mama said, maybe they ate in a rush and forgot to clean up. They don't mean to be naughty. And this is the climax of the story, when Daniel is frustrated, angry, sad. But why do you have to clean it all? It made Daniel hurt inside to see Mama and Papa clean such a huge mess by themselves. Not fair. I'm going to yell at the dragons. he angrily threw a banana peel in the trash. No, little bug. Only the king can yell at dragons, Mama said. You know what that means? Someday, you'll have to be king. Then you can sit in the throne room and tell dragons to be nice and neat. And so Daniel asks to be taken back to the throne room. He sits on the chair, imagines that he's the king, and he would tell the dragons to be nice and neat, his workers, right? Remember, little bug, Mama whispered, remember to be nice when you become king. The dragons work hard too. She hummed as she wiped the windows. And now we've come full circle. Daniel is back in his bed. Daniel didn't realize they were home until he felt Mama tuck him in. He snuggled into his bed in a corner of the apartment. He thought about the paper kingdom. He decided if he became king someday, he would not yell at the little dragons, but he'd make sure they cleaned their mess. That way, Mama and Papa wouldn't have to. And this is my author's note at the end to tell people about what inspired the story. And as I close the book, the story isn't over yet. There's another drawing that Pascal did on the back of the book that really moved me. This is Daniel and his parents. I remember when I was about 3 or 4 years old, it was really just our small family. It was before my little brother William was born. So it was the three of us just always hanging out. Here in LA, I remember my parents, even though they worked so hard, they made it a point to explore the city of Los Angeles during the weekend. So we went all the way to Malibu, to the Getty Villa. They took me to Disneyland. They took me to San Diego. And so this shows the love in our small family unit. And I think because they encouraged me to use my imagination during those difficult times, I really had it in myself to become a writer, because as a writer, I use my imagination every day. And you'll be interested to note that Daniel is sitting on a stack of books. And what's interesting is that the office my parents cleaned was actually a law firm. And that's why there's so much paper, and it's called the Paper Kingdom. And this experience really defined the course of my life. I went to law school. I became a lawyer. And part of the reason why I did that was because I knew from a very young age that if you work in an office like this, hey, maybe you can be the king or the queen. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to help my parents. They struggled financially for so many years, and it really kind of broke my heart. So I knew that I wanted to get a good job. I wanted to send them on vacations around the world. I wanted to help them with their home payments. And I did all that, thankfully. And so this is the Paper Kingdom. Oh, Lauren, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I muted myself.
Okay, now I can hear you.
That's what I was talking about after I finished reading The Paper Kingdom. Every time I've read it multiple times, but I still get that warm feeling. Daniel's parents were so loving and patient. So patient with him. They never snapped at him, even though he kept interrupting them. They just kind of boosted him up.
Yes.
And just took care of him and kind of explained through their own stories, helping him use his imagination to then be okay with being there.
Yes,
it was just,
that's a good observation. And a lot of, some people ask me, well, why didn't you have a moment in the book where you had the parents sit Daniel down and say, we have to work hard to support the family, and explain to him what's going on? And, I did think about that, but I wanted it all to be in the subtext, meaning that I didn't actually spell it out in the book. It's all conveyed through the story and the way that the parents are working really hard and encourage Daniel to use his imagination. So it was a writer's choice that I made. And speaking of being a writer, I had promised in the little teaser video to tell people about my path as a writer, my worst rejection and my greatest triumph. So I think I'll do that now just to keep my end of the bargain. So I'll tell you that I had been writing children's books for a long time, but I was having a hard time getting published. So probably about a decade ago, I wrote a manuscript called The Turtle Ship. And yes, and I put it away, and I picked the story back up, and I realized that what was wrong with the story was I originally told the story with a king as the main character, but I changed it to be a little boy. And this story is based on true Korean history about the real turtle ship. And my story is about how this little boy has a pet turtle who inspires the creation of the turtle ship. And what's really cool is that I got this book published without a literary agent. A literary agent normally helps you sell your book to a publishing company who makes the book. But this book sold without a literary agent to Lee and Low, and it was illustrated by Colleen Kong Savage. And what's really cool about this book is that it's illustrated with little tiny pieces of paper. It's all paper collage, tiny pieces of paper from around the world, which is so cool. I knew, though, that for my next story, The Paper Kingdom, I wanted to find a literary agent. Why? The reason why is because I wanted to give the book the best shot. I wanted to find a business partner, someone who could handle the contract negotiations and open doors for me at even the biggest publishers. So I sent the manuscript to various agents. I had my eye on one who was always in the list of top agents. And I had been admiring her from afar for years. And throughout those years, I would send her a manuscript maybe once a year. And each time she would send me sort of like a form rejection, which means that the rejection would state something like, sorry, this isn't really for me. Or sorry, I'm not looking for a story like this. Well, so anyway, fast forward a couple years, I wrote The Paper Kingdom, and I thought, I think I have a good story here. I'm going to try that top agent again. So I sent my manuscript to her, and this is the part where it gets a little juicy. I didn't expect to hear from her for weeks, but she wrote to me, I think in a few hours, and her response to me was, I don't know any publishers who want this story. Sorry. And at that moment, I think I reached the lowest point in my life as a writer, because I thought, I think this is where my childhood dream ends. I'll keep writing for myself, but I don't know if any of my books will see the light of day after that sort of rejection. I felt so broken and so low. But fortunately, this is where the story gets good. I had sent emails to maybe 5 or 6 other agents, just in case this top agent didn't want me. I had a list of other agents that I really, really admired. So I contacted them with The Paper Kingdom. And fortunately, I was able to get multiple offers of representation. There were several agents who told me that they love the story, they want to work with me. And I went with this gentleman named Bill, who has since retired, but he belonged to this powerhouse New York agency that I thought was so amazing. So I went with him, and he said, you know what? We need to go out with this immediately. And I was still a little hurt from that prior rejection. So I thought, really, are you sure the story doesn't need a ton of work? Maybe we should revise it a few more times. He said, no, I love it. Let's go out with it. So we did. And within days, I had an offer of representation from Penguin Random House, the biggest publisher in the world. And then the offers kept coming in. And at the end of it, we had about 7 publishing houses who wanted to buy The Paper Kingdom. And there were publishing houses sending me boxes of gifts. They wanted to talk to me on the phone. They were all trying to woo me so that I would go with them. It was incredible. And the book ended up selling at auction, meaning that there were multiple bidders. And so within the span of a month, I went from feeling like I was down in the mud with my face dragged in the mud, just so bad. And then I was floating up in the clouds. So some people have asked me, well, did you feel like you got your revenge, like you were justified? And sure, I felt vindicated. I felt good, but at the same time, I felt a little sad about the experience because I remembered how close I came to just giving up. And I think that happens to a lot of creative people because they receive an unkind word from someone who might have just been having a bad day, or who knows. You know, I don't want to blame the top agent. Maybe she was bombarded with work. Who knows? But anyway, it made me sad because I thought of all the people who have so much potential, but because something hurt them so bad, they just gave up. And I wanted to just encourage people listening that if you have a dream, if you have a creative impulse, just pursue it. Don't let someone make you give up. Because yes, it's true that not all dreams come true. However, if you give up too early, you'll never know. And I have so many friends who are fantastic writers and artists who simply gave up because the criticism and the rejection got too painful. And, you know, if you want to survive a career as a creative person, you have to really develop a thick skin, because the rejections, the criticisms, they don't stop. They keep coming. Even if you are a successful published author, they keep coming. So I just wanted to encourage people to just hold on to what they love. And what I love is I love stories. I love creating stories. I love meeting my readers and the audience. I love the library. So just hold on to what you love. Just focus on that.
Oh, Helena, thank you so much for sharing your experiences, your rejection, but also your triumph. Because I think maybe that person, that top agent, wasn't ready to connect with the message of the Paper Kingdom at that time. Like you said, maybe she was in a different space.
Yes.
And she just wasn't ready to connect with that story. But you have so many people that have connected with your story, and that's all that matters.
Thank you, Lauren. That's such a generous way of looking at it too. And I agree with you. I think maybe my manuscript arrived on her desk at a bad moment. I really think so, because you know, I've seen her at conferences, writers' conferences since then. I've listened to her speak on panels, and she seems like a great gal. You know, I just think that at that moment she wasn't at her nicest. And so thankfully I was able to move on from that. But boy, did it hurt for a while. It really, really hurt.
Of course, us all as human beings, we all will have, at least once in our lives, have to deal with a rejection of some sort.
Oh, of course. The older you get, the more rejections you will deal with, because you'll realize that not everybody shares your same perspective. Not everyone has the same opinions. So it's all about, how do you deal with that? Do you deal with that with kindness and just happy heart, or do you let that really break you down? And you know, it's a daily struggle.
Well, I just thought the Paper Kingdom was inspiring. Your other picture book, The Turtle Ship, was inspiring. You are inspiring. And I hope everyone that's watching right now or watches later on in the future is inspired as well. If you have any questions for Helena, please share them in the chat. I already see lovely comments that I'm going to tell Helena now, and some really great questions already. So if you have any other questions for Helena, please share it in the chat. Thank you. Helena, let's look.
Wow,
First,
look at all these cool comments.
such
Bula.
lovely.
Oh,
yay.
Yeah, somebody from my undergrad, Bula. Hi, Erin.
Oh, wonderful. I love the comment of people are saying how the Paper Kingdom is such a sweet book. And someone said, my kids are listening while taking their bath.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it.
I love that comment. And that same comment, Willa, she also asked, which I thought was a great question to start with, is there a reason why you had the main character be a little boy, Daniel, instead of a little girl?
Excellent question. I struggled with that for a while, because I was wondering, should it be a true autobiography exactly about me, a little Asian girl, or should I somehow try to expand the experience to anyone that the reader wants to imagine? And while I was writing the story, one thing that really struck me was I think I was watching an interview with the comedian Jim Carrey. And he actually mentioned that his family worked as janitors when he was growing up too. And I thought, wow, there are a lot of people who share this experience. So how can I expand that? And so I made it a little boy because I knew that there was going to be an author's note at the end to tell people that this is actually my story. So I wanted the character to be a boy because you have the little boy, then you have me. And so we cover hopefully a bigger experience than just mine.
That's why I love when authors put an author's note at the end of their stories, especially if they have a deep connection with the story personally. I love reading those author's notes because then it kind of connects. And you're right, you covered it because Daniel's there in the story, but then the readers also know that the story was inspired by you as well and your experiences.
Oh, thank you, Lauren. Yeah, I really, I'll tell you another writer's advice, which is that author's note is almost identical to the email that I wrote to agents when I wanted to introduce my manuscript to them. I was trying to tell them it's a personal story. And so it's almost word for word, the letter, the emails that I sent to the agents that I wanted to work with. And a few of them wrote to me and said, oh my gosh, your note had me crying at my desk. And so I think there was a sort of a raw connection. And this is another bit of advice that I'll give to people who are aspiring to be authors. Yes. Go with the representative, the agent, or the publisher who really connects with your story, because that person is going to be working on your book for years. So if they just feel like, well, it's a pretty good story, I think I can sell it. If they just feel a little lukewarm about it, you won't get the attention you want as a writer. You won't get the respect. Whereas if they really take to it, like my agent Bill did at the time, you will get like such, you will have such a great connection working with that person on your book. Hi, Orianne. I see some great friends on the chat, which is great.
Welcome, Helena's friends. Thank you for the support for Helena Ku Rhee. Oh, it's wonderful. Okay, let's see. Oh, I love this observation. The book, The Paper Kingdom, this reminds me of the film Life is Beautiful. And here with an entirely different context. What a wholesome book. Fantastic story. Thank you. Thank you for that lovely comment.
That is a lovely comment. And you know what? That comment is brilliant because Life is Beautiful was actually one of my inspirations. That film completely blew me away. The fact that the father went to such lengths to make his boy feel loved and safe in the Nazi concentration camp, it really struck a chord with me and it lingered with me. As a writer, you hold on to things that resonate with you emotionally, and then you kind of pour that into your own stories. And so Life is Beautiful is actually one of my probably the top 5 inspirations when I sat down to write the story. And because I had that sort of inspiration, when I went to sit down my own story, it actually came pretty quickly because I knew that, like Life is Beautiful, I wanted the parents to create a wonderland for their child, because it's not a happy situation to be at an office building late at night when you want to be in bed. It's not happy at all. But because of the force of imagination, it actually turns out to be magical. And so Life is Beautiful is the perfect reference to quote. Yeah.
And I love how you just mentioned that again, because earlier you were talking about how people ask you, why didn't the parents just sit them down and say, life's hard, we have to do this to support the family. Children respond better and actually understands better when you communicate with them using their imagination, like your book and Life is Beautiful, and making a story out of it.
Completely. And I think that because my parents encouraged me to use my imagination during those times, rather than sitting me down and lecturing me, I absorbed so much more. The little details that I remember from that time, even though I was 3 or 4, it's pretty incredible. Like, I remember losing a shoe one time. I remember being afraid that there might be monsters hiding down the hallway. Just little things like that. My imagination was going wild because my parents encouraged that instead of just telling me, be quiet, just go to sleep, or you know what I mean? So I want to convey that in the book.
I was definitely struck by that, definitely from reading The Paper Kingdom. Okay,
cool.
Just wonderful comments. What a beautiful story, the picture book and the illustrator's symbolism and the author's story. You did become that king, Helena. Oh my, wonderful. Oh, thank you for that lovely comment. Isn't that wonderful, Helena?
Oh, so wonderful.
Oh, wonderful.
All these nice comments.
Yes, and so my 3-year-old loves Paper Kingdom.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. I'm always amazed to know like what age groups respond to the story. I always, my inner 6-7-year-old is a very strong force in my life. So I feel like I wrote the story for that inner 6-7-year-old. So I'm amazed when a 3-year-old responds to the story, or a 4-year-old. I mean, these kids are brilliant. That's so cool.
Oh, this is a wonderful question. Thank you, Andy. What are you working on now? Are you allowed to share anything in the future that you're working on now?
Yes, I can share. So I have my 3rd picture book coming out in 2022, and that book is called Sora Seashells, and it's about a little girl who endures some bullying at school, and she gets over the bullying with the help of her grandmother's love. And so it's another kind of emotional story, and I'm really excited for it because it's coming out from the publisher Candlewood Press, and it's going to be illustrated completely in watercolors by a very talented gentleman in South Korea. And I have a 4th picture book coming out, but I can't tell you too much about that one because it hasn't been publicly announced. But what I can tell you is that if you go to my website and you subscribe, you'll be among the first to know about it, and you'll also get insider glimpses of the art. I can tell you, though, that the book is going to be with Penguin Random House again, and also with Pascal, the illustrator of The Paper Kingdom again.
Great.
So I'm really, really excited about that.
I'm excited. Oh, there was a question of, can we see Sherwin? Helena's wonderful
Sherwin.
dog, Sherwin.
Oh, shall I see if he's around? Do you want me to go away for a second and go find him?
Let's see if there's one more question, and then we could take a small break, and I'll talk a little bit about the library while I get Sherwin. There's a last comment here. Good advice for all ages. Agreed. That's why I love the Your Author series so very much, because every time you watch and Your Author, you always get some life advice. Yes, advice about maybe an author, illustrator, but really just advice about life. Thank you for that comment. And then let's see this last comment here. Yes, one last question, and then you can get Sherwin. How do you establish your collaborations with your illustrators?
That's a really good question. Because I'm texting my husband to bring Sherwin into the room. So with a picture book, when you have a traditional publisher like Penguin Random House or Lee & Low or Candlewick, they actually buy your story, your manuscript, meaning just the words, and then they hire the illustrator. So I have actually a very amazing story about the turtle ship. So Colleen is an artist based in New York. So I had never met her. When Lee & Low bought my story, I went to an art show held by the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. I think that's the full name, SCBWI. If you're a children's book writer, you should absolutely join. Anyway, I went to an art show at SCBWI, and there were all these art portfolios by artists from around the world, and I kept looking at one by Colleen Kahn-Savage because it was so amazing. So I wrote to Lee and Low. The very next day, I wrote an email to Lee and Low, and I said, do you think we could get the artist Colleen Kahn-Savage? Here's her website. And I already sent her a fan email. Colleen wrote to me an email, and she said, wait, do you have a book about a turtle? And I said, oh my goodness, how do you know? Apparently, the publisher Lee and Low had already contacted her even before I found Colleen on my own. So it was incredible. I was so amazed. So that was a wonderful coincidence. I think it's miraculous. I think we were meant to work on that book together. And for the Paper Kingdom, this was a little different in that Penguin Random House found Pascal. They had a list of illustrators that they thought would be great for the Paper Kingdom. And they invited Pascal to work on the manuscript. And I was so overjoyed when he said yes, because he's a pretty big celebrity. He's a pretty big deal. Pascal, so Sherwin is here with me. Do you want me to show him?
Yes, Sherwin.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, here comes Sherwin. Come here, Sherwin.
Sherwin's Helena's wonderful dog.
Here he is in all his 30-pound glory. Here he is.
Hi,
he
Sherwin.
Just had a little nap. So he just had a nap and his food, so he's very content. And he never gets to sit up here, so he's a little confused. Yes, thank you. He's kissing me. Hello, everyone. And I would love to write a book about Sherwin.
I was going to ask you, how did you know?
Yeah, I would love to write a book about Sherwin. But this is another writer's tip. So dogs are a popular topic in children's books, but the story has to be extremely unique because there are so many dog books on the marketplace. So that's another tip that I will give you. If you're going to write a children's book, it has to be special because there are certain topics like dogs, cats, grandchildren. There are so many books about those that it's hard to get them published unless they're completely different, like nothing you've ever read before. So yes, I've written stories about Sherwin, but none of them have gotten picked up yet. I hope to write one that's a little more unique than the ones I have already written so that maybe one of these days it'll sell.
I know you're going to.
Yeah, we'll see. But another bit of advice I would tell you is that one thing that I've heard a lot as a writer is write the story that only you can write. And what that means is not just write a story from your own experience, but just write the story that lives so strongly in your heart, lives so strongly in your mind that only you can write it with such passion, such honesty. So focus on those stories. So I know that a lot of people are like, oh, that's a cool looking flower. I'll write a story about that flower. Well, what makes that flower special to you? It has to be very specific. That's the type of story that publishers are looking for. Something that is so special, emotionally resonant, humorous, what have you.
Great advice. Again, thank you, Helena. And as you were giving that advice, you were talking about write the story that only you could write. That's what you did with the Turtle Ship. That's exactly what you did with the Turtle Ship and the Paper Kingdom. Only you could have written these books, and it's true because now that I've met you, I realized that.
Yeah. So I'm trying to take my own advice to heart because trust me, I have a million ideas. My issue is which idea do I actually write a story about? And I figured out that the idea that you should really cling on to is the idea that kind of haunts you. It keeps coming back to you over and over, like you can't shake it loose. That's the idea that you should pursue because it's probably meaningful to you, right?
Oh, is it? Helena Ku Rhee, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us and wonderful advice, your wonderful stories, your wonderful advice about becoming an author, about triumph and rejection, but let's put rejection and then triumph at the end.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for joining us for another great Your Authors Edition series. Edition of Your Authors series.
Thank you so much. So fun. Thank you all.
And a big, big thank you to the Library Foundation for allowing these programs to be possible with the support from the Lenore S. and Bernard A. Greenbun. I don't know what's wrong with me today. The Lenore S. and Bernard A. Greenberg Fund. Thank you so very much for making this series possible. I know people are always trying to connect with wonderful authors, and this is just another way that the library is providing service as well as virtually. Just want to also remind everyone, please check out Helena Ku Rhee's books. They're available at the library. The Turtle Ship and the Paper Kingdom are both available through the library's Library to Go. Yes, the Paper Kingdom. The Library to Go initiative. If you go to the library's website, it's right out on our front page, Library to Go. That's where you could put books on hold and then make contact-free pickup appointments to get those books and get them home and to continue to read, as well as the Paper Kingdom's also available on our Overdrive and Libby as well. So please use your library cards. I highly recommend Helena Ku Rhee's both of her books, The Turtle Ship and The Paper Kingdom. Please check them out and enjoy them with your family. Next week, we are actually having a special program. So Your Author Series is going to take a break. We'll return August 7th, Friday, August 7th at 4 p.m. But next week on the 31st, July 31st, is the Teen Film Fest. Helena, so the library has a teen film festival as part of the summer reading program. So actually on the library's website, there's a special page. It's lapl.org/teen-film/festival. Let me do that again. lapl.org/teen-film-festival. And on that page, there's information. There's going to be a teen film festival next week. Teens from across Los Angeles have entered this teen film festival contest. Not I wouldn't say contest, but just to get their film out there and for people to enjoy as part of the summer reading program. So next week at 4 and to 5 o'clock, instead of the Your Author Series, there's going to be a teen film festival. Please check out the library's website for more details. Also, that website that I just said about the teen film festival, there's a lot of great resources. So I know if you have missed making your submission, there's still some great resources on that website to still make your own films at home. Thank you, Helena Ku Rhee.
Thank you.
This was just so wonderful, such a treat to have you. I look forward to reading more of your future books. I can't wait.
This was really fun. Thank you all.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon and for your lovely comments. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.